Hey guys, so you recognize this flag, right? What about this one? These flags represent a place, a nation. But wait, what's that? Did that catch your eye? It's been an entire month of this flag now. Yes, the Pride Month. This flag represents people globally. We all identify with the rainbow flag as a symbol of the LGBTQIA rights movement. Unfortunately, this month is about to get over. But do we really know much about what it stands for? What does it mean? Who does it represent? So many questions. Okay, let's go one by one. LGBTQIA is an English umbrella term intended to include all subsections of a very diverse community. So L stands for lesbian, G stands for gay, B is bisexual, T is transgender, Q is queer or questioning, I is intersex, and A is asexual or agender.
But there is an even elaborate version of this.
Yes, but when and where was its humble beginning? Well, the first evidence of homosexuality in the world dates back to ancient Greece. And surprisingly, there have been no mentions or records of homophobia at that time. Homophobia seems to have started during the High Middle Ages, and during the Renaissance it got even worse. Now, with the spread of colonialism, homophobia spread its roots in the entire world. Things didn't start to change for better until the 20th century. Gay bars started popping up in major cities in the USA, but these were frequently raided as being gay was still a crime in almost all American states. Things could not go on like this for long. And then came the Stonewall Riots, 29 June 1969. On this fateful day, the police raided one such bar, the Stonewall Inn, arresting the employees for selling liquor without a license, roughing up many of the patrons, and clearing the bar. But the patrons of the Stonewall Inn decided that they were not going to take it anymore and be the usual bystanders that they were. But instead, they rioted against the police personnel, cornered them, and even forced them to call for backup. This went on for another 4 days. This was the first mass resistance against the atrocities committed against the LGBTQ community. Later in the 80s, the world was hit by the AIDS epidemic, and the gay community was hit the hardest. Even so much so that AIDS became to be known as a gay disease. In fact, it was originally called GRID, that is, gay-related immunodeficiency. Many even believed that the word didn't act quickly enough because it was considered a gay disease. The LGBTQ then acted up and organized themselves into groups such as ACT UP, the Gay Man's Health Crisis, Lesbians AIDS Project, and the Names Project, refusing to be ignored. The main goal of this new-faced community was to come up.
But what about India? Well, if you are an Indian, you already know so much. But what you didn't know is, Rigveda states Prakriti evam Prakriti, meaning what seems unnatural is also natural. Scholars believe that this recognizes homosexual or transgender dimensions of human life, like all forms of universal diversities. Contrary to most languages, Sanskrit has pronouns for 3 sexes. There are many sculptures related to both heterosexual and homosexual relationships in the Khajuraho and Konark temple. All this historical evidence states that homosexuality was prevalent throughout our history and they were seen with an equal eye. So what happened? How did we see this drastic change in the society? Let's see. It was only in the 18th century during British colonial rule that systematic discrimination emerged in the Indian societies. It all started with the Buggery Act of 1533 in England, under which sodomy between men and women and unnatural sex by a person with an animal was punishable by death. The Section 377 was modelled on the same law in Indian Penal Code of 1861, which was later included in the Constitution of India 1949 as it is. This was one of the reasons why in our country homosexuals have been tagged as criminals. But is this the only reason? Obviously no. There have been criticisms of homosexuality by influencing class of peoples, especially by religious leaders, which has added up in worsening the situation of LGBTQs.
Society has certain simple rules by which it can be organized. So same thing when we know that only man and women can produce the future of mankind. This we consider this as a genetic flaw. But we don't want anybody to be discriminated on that basis or be thought of as someone who's not a human.
बदकिस्मती से दुनिया में भी और ये बीमारी हमारे देश में भी आ गई जहां आदमी आदमी के साथ सेक्स करता है जो कि बिल्कुल अननेचुरल है, नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन है। हमारे देश में भी उसकी संख्या अच्छी खासी है कि मर्द के साथ सेक्स करता है। उसको ढूंढना बड़ा मुश्किल है क्योंकि कौन करता है, कहां है, उसका पता नहीं चलता है, जिसकी वजह से उसमें हमें ज्यादा प्रगति नहीं मिली।
Due to similar arguments, our Indian society for long has believed that homosexuality is unnatural. This notion came to an end when the Indian Psychiatric Society in 2014 trashed this rumor. It's been quite unfortunate that in spite of this, in many areas, the community names have been used as an abuse for a very long time. People are seeing bullying LGBT people on social media platforms as well. Well, is only decriminalizing Section 377 enough? Shouldn't we have a strict law to stop verbal and mental abuse of the LGBTQ community just the way we have for SC and ST community? LGBTQ people still do not have the right to property. Has any government or NGO even thought about this? Well, in a way, yes. There are many splinter groups for the LGBTQ to fight for their rights, but that is more by accident than by design. And we know that long-term change happens only through the change of law. So, what happened there? Let's find out.
The Article 15 of the Indian Constitution prohibits the discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identities, thereby lawfully banning the discrimination against homosexual and transgender individuals. Yeah, right, lawfully. Now taking a turn to the positive one. Later in 2014, the Supreme Court of India considered them the suppressed class and entitled them the reservation in jobs and education and made them the part of the family welfare schemes. Then in 2018, one of the biggest steps was taken by the Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court of India struck down the Article 377. Article 377 declared the carnal intercourse against the order of nature punishable by the imprisonment for life. Therefore, the court decriminalized it and legalized homosexual intercourse. Then in 2019, the Constitution recognized the third gender as the spectrum of identities that are not exclusively masculine or feminine. This was Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. Now coming to what the Indian Psychiatric Society said. It said that the homosexuality is not a mental illness. Therefore, on 7 June 2021, the Madras High Court Justice prohibited the conversion therapy. And as far as the Indian Armed Services are concerned, in 2018, a bill was floated by the MP Jagdambika Pal of BJP to allow the LGBTQ people serve the nation. But surprisingly, it was struck down in the Lok Sabha.
Supreme Court has said something. We will have to see how we take a call and how. Let us also see how this comes into the society. आप लोग में चलेगा तो चलने दो, हमारे यहाँ नहीं. देखते हैं आप लोग भी कितना accept करेंगे इस चीज़ को. We will see. अभी let's wait and watch. आपके मीडिया में ये चलेगा कितना चलेगा इसको वेट एंड वॉच करते हैं कि आप लोग में कितना चलने देगा. लेट अस सी हाउ द आफ्टर ऑल दिस थिंग विल स्टार्ट हैपनिंग इन द कंट्री. व्हाट विल हैपन देखते हैं अभी.
Many believe that serving with the homosexuals may even compromise with the integrity of rank and command. And army men may refuse to adhere to the commands of the homosexuals. And same is the case with women. So not just in the professional space, they are being neglected in the social space too. The same-sex couples do not have the adoption rights, whereas for a single LGBTQ parent, it is allowed. And when asked about the gay marriages, the government of India stated in Delhi High Court that this is not comparable with the Indian family unit concept. So these remarks clearly state that despite recognition, they are still far away from the social acceptance, and that is disheartening in itself.
With the end of this Pride Month, let's not forget the struggles of LGBTQ community. Let's embrace the notions of true identity and equality. Let's devote ourselves to humanity, something that connects us all.